Today in Legal Yes, Jonathan Majors' trial kicks off and we break down the opening statements. Plus, Lenny Hochstein sues Lisa for defamation after she accuses him of abuse. And can the publisher be sued for releasing the names of the alleged royals who made racist comments? We've got that plus so much more in today's Legal Yes. Hey everyone, and welcome to Legal Yes. I'm Christina. That's, of course, Neama Rahmani, President and CEO of West Coast Trial Lawyers. Hi, Neama. How are you?
Doing great, Christina. How about you?
Doing good, doing good. We have a lot to get to this week. Of course, everybody is talking about Omid Scobie's book, Endgame. And it isn't just raising eyebrows in the US and the UK, but the Netherlands version of the book was allegedly misprinted with details about the royal family's involvement in Prince Archie's skin color incident. So the Dutch translation of the new royal tell-all reportedly names King Charles and Kate Middleton as the royals who made comments about Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's firstborn child before his birth. As a result of the alleged name mistakes, the Dutch edition has been pulled from the shelves until it gets reprinted. And the English version doesn't mention any names whatsoever. But Omid Scobie, who wrote the book, said in a statement, having only written and edited the English version of Endgame, I can only comment on that manuscript, which does not name the two individuals who took part in the conversation. I'm happy to hear that the error in the translation of the Dutch edition is being fixed. So can the author, can Omid or the U.S. publisher sue for something like this, for such a big mistake?
Well, it's a huge mistake, but really the people that can sue are the members of the royal family that are defamed, right? So obviously we don't know what the original manuscript said. Somehow, some way, something was lost in translation. So whether it was on the part of the Dutch publishers who added this, or if Omid somehow provided a previous version, the question is, who is the publisher for the purpose of a defamation lawsuit? We know the Dutch publisher is, and the question is, did Omid provide those names to someone? And if so, he may be held liable. Now, of course, if the royal family doesn't want to pursue this case, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I can't imagine in a sort of business relationship like this where they pulled the Dutch version off the shelves, the Netherlands entity would go after the British one.
So if the royal family did decide to take action, which likely, knowing their history, maybe they won't, but could they go after Omid and say, you need to show us early manuscripts and, you know, like you said, kind of sue for defamation?
Potentially, and that's something that would come out in discovery. They'd certainly sue the Netherlands entity, and they might sue Omid and the British one as well to say, well, hey, how did this information even get to the Dutch? Is this something that they added, or is this something that Omid provided? And we know that manuscripts and books go through multiple rounds of edits, including legal review. So it's certainly possible, obviously this is just speculating, that an earlier version of the book did name names. And then the lawyers got involved and said, hey, we don't want to get sued. You need to change this. You need to sanitize this. So that's a real possibility.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if anything happens. All right. Well, moving on over to the Real Housewives of Miami, because Lenny Hochstein has filed a defamation lawsuit against his estranged wife, Lisa, over a recent social media post where she hinted that he abused her. So according to court documents, Lenny filed a civil suit against the reality star and is seeking damages of up to $100,000 and attorney's fees. It comes days after Lisa shared an Instagram story photo of a bruise on her arm and hinted that Lenny had previously abused her. Now, in his court filing, Lenny vehemently denies Lisa's allegations and claims his ex is harassing him. He claimed in his lawsuit that Lisa got the bruise after she lost her balance while walking up a set of stairs while the pair were having an argument. He also accuses her of cheating on him in the past, calling her the real homewrecker of Miami. He also claims Lisa was with her current boyfriend, Jody, the night the CEO was supposed to get married to his ex-fiance. Oh, this is just nasty, nasty, nasty. So does Lenny or Lisa, who kind of has the one up on this case when it comes to, you know, some serious allegations?
Very serious allegations, Christina. And this gives me Johnny Depp, Amber Heard vibes, right? So someone is clearly lying. I don't know if it's Lenny, I don't know if it's Lisa, but it's interesting that we're talking about a stairway incident as well. So, you know, did Lenny abuse Lisa? Did she fall or hurt herself some other way? Is the bruise completely fake? We won't know until this case goes forward, because this is a textbook he said, she said situation where one person's telling the truth and someone else is not.
do we think the way that these two have this tumultuous history, do you foresee this then going to trial? Because it doesn't seem like either one of them is going to let up.
I don't know. This is a very toxic relationship that's continued to get nasty, even after they've broken up. So sometimes you have relationships where it's just terrible while they're together, but after the fact, the parties go their separate ways, especially when they're in other relationships. But the reason I said this is a lot like Johnny Depp and Amber Heard is even after the separation, they're going after each other and making these very wild accusations on social media. So we won't know what's true until the evidence comes out at trial and witnesses come forward and they testify.
The saga continues. All right. Well, moving on to a case that did begin trial. So the opening statements began in the criminal trial against actor Jonathan Majors, who has been accused of assaulting his ex-girlfriend. This is a very convoluted situation, so I'll explain it as best I can. So he was arrested back in March after an alleged domestic dispute in Manhattan with his then girlfriend, Grace Jabari. So he pleaded not guilty to the 4 charges of assault and aggravated harassment that have been leveled against him. A 5th charge of strangulation has been dropped. He faces up to a year in jail if convicted. So prosecutor Michael Perez began by offering details on the events that led to the arrest. He said on March 25th, they took a private car service from a Brooklyn party to their apartment. And they said that he got a text message from another woman. Granted, he was in a very serious relationship with Grace. And he said that at the night of the incident, Grace saw a text message on his phone from another woman that read, "Wish I was kissing you right now." And she allegedly took the phone out of his hands to see who it was. And then he began grabbing the right side of her body and prying her finger off of the phone to retrieve it. He alleges this caused bruising, swelling, and substantial pain. His attorney then said that he was the one that was being abused, and they're kind of going back and forth. He then broke off their relationship, and then he went back to their apartment later on, and it seemed like things kind of escalated from there. And they're defending that it's a breakup gone wrong, and they're saying that it's been abuse. So what were your thoughts on these opening statements?
Yeah, very interesting case. And obviously the district attorney feels that, Jonathan is really guilty of domestic violence. And the defense has come out very aggressively and said that, in fact, Grace was the abuser. And it's interesting, even before the trial, they tried to get Grace prosecuted. They went to the New York PD. They made a complaint, and the prosecutor said, listen, we're not going to prosecute her because we believe she's the victim. Now, this is another case where we really got to see what the evidence is. Prosecutors have said that there's video surveillance and of them outside the vehicle. And obviously, we haven't seen that. I don't know if it shows Jonathan being abusive or Grace being abusive. And then there has to be a witness, right? They had a driver. I want to know what that driver saw, because there's 2 very different accounts of what happened here. Well, the first being that Jonathan attacked Grace, and the other, of course, being the defense position that it was the other way around. The other thing that's going to be interesting is there might be some other incidents and victims that come in. Prosecutors have said they want to present evidence of something that happened in London between Jonathan and Grace. So it's interesting to see what that is, and maybe even bring some of Jonathan's exes to testify about how abusive he was. So I think once we see the evidence and the witnesses, we'll be able to determine who's telling the truth and who's not.
Right. No, definitely. And then what would happen to Grace if Jonathan was proven innocent in this case? Would anything happen to her?
I don't think so. Again, she can be sued civilly for malicious prosecution or defamation. But just because someone's found not guilty at trial doesn't necessarily mean they're innocent. The way the law is a unanimous jury has to find beyond a reasonable doubt that Jonathan Majors committed these acts. And if there's any doubt that's reasonable, they're supposed to return a not guilty verdict, a verdict of acquittal. But that doesn't mean he's actually innocent. It may just mean there's not enough evidence to prove the case.
All right. Lots of interesting cases this week. Neama, thank you so much for breaking it all down, as always.
Thanks, Christina. Great seeing you.
All right. See you next week. For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.